Hello everybody. Well, welcome back to Rascal's Crafts. Today I am going to do a request. My wonderful sister-in-law, Annette, she went and asked me to make lasagna. So that's what I'm going to do today. Okay? So what are we going to need to make my lasagna? Well, first of all, we're going to need a pound of ground beef, pound of mild Italian sausage, of course lasagna noodles. We're going to need mushrooms. I prefer baby bellas. You can use white cap mushrooms if you want it. An onion, brown onion. Some people use sweet. I really can't tell the difference, and I've got a pretty good palate. We're going to use ricotta cheese. Now you can substitute ricotta cheese for cottage cheese if you want to, but I like the taste of ricotta. It's a little bit richer. We're going to do some olives, diced tomatoes, tomato sauce, cheddar cheese, well, Cheddar Jack, Colby Jack, mozzarella, and spices, pepper, kosher salt, Italian seasoning, rosemary, thyme, oregano, and a little bit of red pepper flakes. So that's the ingredients. Yeah, I'm of course going to add a little bit of water so I can cook my noodles. But other than that, that's about all there is to making this. So let me go ahead and get set up to start cutting some things up and get some things going. Okay? Okay, let's go ahead and get this started, okay? Make sure you have a nice sharp knife. Things go so much easier. And you have a tendency not to cut yourself if you have a nice sharp knife, because you're not working so hard to get to it. So, we're going to start out with the onion. We want small diced. Oh, I hate peeling onions. Luckily, they don't normally make me cry. Sometimes I'll get a really strong one. But not normally. Trash basket. Now, of course, you could go ahead and buy the pre-diced onions from the store, but you know, this really isn't that much work. Plus, you can get them to the size you want easier. Now, one of the things you should do is run slits across the side, one, possibly two, but you have to be careful not to cut yourself and not to go all the way through. So, put your hand open on the top and feed it through. Okay? Now down. See how nice that knife slides through there? Because it's good and sharp. and cut by pushing the knife away from you. You don't really want to bring it forward in case something happens and you slip. It's not fun going to the doctor getting stitches, and I've had plenty of those. Like I say, this is a yellow onion. You can, of course, use a sweet onion, or you can use a specialty onion if you wanted to, I guess. But I just enjoy the yellow onion. They have a little bit more of a, to me, a peppery taste. So yeah, it's good. So just a sec. Do the next side. Cooking. The root end right here is the end you want to keep, where the top portion is the garbage. Okay? Okay. Now the mushrooms. You want to get everything prepped. It's called mise en place, which literally means everything in its place. By doing a mise en place, you don't have to... oh well, lost one. It's easier to have everything ready, and it will increase your speed as far as when you go to put everything together. You'll notice I'm taking the stems out. I don't like the stems so much. They can get a little woody, a little dense, so I just try and use the mushroom caps. Okay. I remember the first time I ever had baby bellas, it really surprised me the difference in the tastes. For years and years and years, I did nothing but the white button cap, which are great, you know, it's a mushroom. But the baby bellas add just a little bit extra flavor to it. That's what I like. If you can build extra flavor into your product, then it will pay off in the end. Now, when you're slicing stuff like this, you want to make a claw of your hand, okay? And then actually run the knife down your finger. See how fast that goes? And you can adjust the width of your slice by how much you move your finger or your knuckle. And by doing it this way, you don't have to worry about cutting yourself. Of course, getting all this stuff ready takes a little bit of time. Now when you're cutting things up, it's important that you try and keep everything the same size. That way there it cooks all at the same speed. If you have a mushroom cap that is, you know, that wide and one that's that wide, the smaller one's going to cook faster. And it's not going to be, you know, you're going to possibly burn those by the time the other ones are ready. Okay, there. Mushrooms and onions are cut and ready to go. Okay, so let's get some water on for the noodles. Now, it's important when you do the noodles that you bring the water to temperature to a nice rolling boil. Add salt, and you want the salt to be, you want the water to taste very salty. This is where it starts on building the flavor. Some people will actually not use salt, and they don't understand why it just doesn't taste like what they see in the restaurants, or what they get in the restaurants. So, get that there. My salt. Now, when I say nice and salty, I mean nice and salty. Salt's cheap. Use it. You're building flavor. Now, some people, I realize, can't have salt. I apologize for, I'm sorry for them. You know, it's, there's substitutes out there, Mrs. Dash and stuff like that, but I'm sorry, it's just not the same. Okay, there, and then cover it so it builds up the heat faster. You'll notice I did not put oil in the pan. If you put oil in the pan, it makes it easier to peel your noodles apart. Absolutely. But it makes it so that the sauce won't stick to the noodle the way you would want it to. Spaghetti, lasagna, ravioli, things like that where you want the sauce to stick to the noodle, don't use oil in here. Okay? So, let's go ahead and start the browning process. Okay, so put a little bit of, it's empty, a little bit of olive oil. Get that fired up. You want to bring it to temperature before you start putting anything in. It makes it easier to cook it. Okay. And another thing you want to do is you want to start getting your tomatoes and stuff like that ready. For instance, what I've got is petite diced tomatoes. You can cut your own tomatoes up and use those if you want, but I'll tell you, these things are just as great. They are steamed and then peeled and then chopped up. But what you want to do is you want to drain off the water that's in them. Now, why would you want to do that, you might ask? The reason for that is the water will make the sauce very thin. Okay? And thin sauce is not always a good sauce. Again, you want it to be able to stick to the pasta. So, by draining off the water and reserving it, like I'm doing right here, it gives you the option of using it later to thin the sauce if it needs to be thinned without using plain old unseasoned water. So we're going to let that drain. Okay, so that's feeling pretty warm. One way you can check, a little water on your fingers. You hear that? That means it's hot. Put your mushrooms and your onions in. We're going to start browning them. Okay, we also have to build in flavor, don't we? So, we're going to start out with the onions and the mushrooms with a little salt, or pepper, and a little salt. You know what? I can't tell you use a teaspoon here, a tablespoon there. It's all to taste. Okay, after you make it a couple of times, you'll get to realize how much a pinch of this or a pinch of that will make it taste. How much it will, what it'll change the taste. So we don't want to saute these. What we want to do is we want to sweat them down. Difference between sauteing and sweating: when you saute something, it's actually going to turn brown on you. Don't really care if it turns brown. What I want to do is I want to take out some of the moisture. That's why it's called sweating. To do that, you turn the heat down to about a medium high, and it slowly cooks out the excess moisture. Okay. Water's not quite ready yet. Oh, I know. I'm going to be using boxed lasagna. Making lasagna by hand is a pain in the neck. Boxed stuff, yeah, it may take longer to cook, but to me it's just as good. I have made my own pasta, and again, the taste is wonderful. You can add as much salt or whatever you want to it to make it. You could even add flavorings like spinach or anything like that when you make the dough, and that will give you extra flavor in the product. But to me, it's just not worth it. If I want spinach in my lasagna, I'll saute some spinach and put it in it. So right now, as you can see, we've got a good vegetarian lasagna going. Okay. You could also put some eggplant in this, and use that as your meat substitute. But to me, I think that's a good thing for people that don't like meat, but I'm a carnivore. I like meat. I'm gonna eat meat. So, okay, you see how this is getting to be kind of translucent? The onion is. You can start seeing through it. It's almost ready to go. It looked like a lot of mushrooms and onions in there when we started. But no, it really wasn't. They sweat down real fast. Oh, and they smell so good. Now, what some people will do at this point is they will add red wine to the mushrooms and onions. Give them a little extra body. One ingredient I didn't say at the beginning was, what's this here sauce? I can't say it, so I don't try. But add that to it. A couple of tablespoons. Finish off the sweating. And once that is complete, we will go ahead and transfer it over to another bowl. Okay, so mushrooms and onions are done. Put them off to the side. Now we're going to start with the meat. You can see I'm not putting any extra oil in the pan because the sausage and the ground beef is going to add its own grease, so I don't need it. Again, it's 1 pound of mild Italian sausage. You can use, of course, hot Italian sausage if you wanted to. It all depends on your taste. But my family doesn't really enjoy a lot of hot items. And here we go. There are other ways to get the heat in your foods. Easier ways to adjust it. Okay, let that cook for a while. I can see our water has started to boil over here. So, I'm going to add the lasagna. One box is going to be more than plenty for what we're making. Okay? And don't force them down. Let them fall on their own. You really don't want to break these if you can help it. As they loosen up, they'll go ahead and sink further. So, put a cover on it, keep the steam and heat in. Okay, so we got the meat going. And once again, we want to start building more flavor, right? So let's go ahead and add some more pepper. And some more salt. And turn this up because we want it to cook. And you can see that this is starting to soften up, so I can sink them down. Now break them apart. Once it starts boiling, take the lid away. Now here's an old trick for you. That will bubble over. But if you take a wooden spoon and you put it over it, as soon as those bubbles hit that spoon, the bubbles will pop. Bring the seasonings over here. Don't need them yet, but we're going to. Oh, by the way, lasagna noodles. In the store, they now have no-boil lasagna noodles, pre-made, ready to stick in your lasagna. Stick it in the oven and go. Well, I've tried them. Not a big fan. The issue I find with them is that they don't seem to cook long enough. They still kind of tough. So, boil them. Makes it a lot easier. Okay. This part takes so long, so I will probably fast forward this. Yep, got a ways to go. Okay, I'd say that meat is done. Let's go ahead and dump out the grease. Okay. And we're going to turn the heat down again. It's about medium high. We're going to start adding things back in so we can make the sauce. There's the mushrooms and onions. Okay, I told you about the tomatoes, right? You can see they're completely drained. So, I'm going to add the tomatoes. Look how much liquid was in those 3 cans of tomatoes. Don't throw it away. Keep it off to the side, and you can use it to thin it out if needed. Okay, now we're going to do the tomato sauce. This is where the liquid is going to be coming from, but when you saute it, of course, some evaporates. That's what you got that tomato sauce or tomato juice for. See how nice and thick that is? Okay, so now we need to taste it. It's going to be cold, but you still get a little bit of a taste. To say that it is tomatoey is ridiculous. One thing about tomato sauce, you have to let it simmer for a few minutes, preferably a few hours. That cooks off a lot of that raw tomato taste. Okay? But, as you can see, I like using no salt added as far as tomato sauce and stuff like that goes. I don't want somebody else determining who or how much salt I'm going to eat. Okay, let me open my olives. You want to drain the olives. Again, because you don't need to have all that extra stuff that's in the water. Add them in. You'll see I didn't use a lot of olives. You don't need to. The flavoring of the olive will, if you use a lot of them, it'll be overpowering. Okay, so now you can go to a store, and when you get your diced tomatoes, they have cans that say Italian seasoned, or something like that. You can get Mexican seasoned tomatoes. I get the plain because, again, I don't like the added seasonings unless I know what they are. So, I'm going to put in some rosemary. And again, I just look at it. I don't want a solid layer, but I do want, cover most of it. This is thyme, same thing. Because you can always add more later. You really can't take it away. Oregano. Italian seasoning, which has got a little bit of everything in it, plus a few other things. Red pepper flakes. Now, some people like spicy foods. My family does not. So, I literally just add a 1/4 teaspoon. Okay. Mix all this in. And put a cover on it. Okay, turn it down a little bit to simmer. And one thing I did not add to this is minced garlic. It needs garlic. Believe it or not, Italian food needs garlic. So, and just a few cloves. We like garlicky food here. Now, a lot of people say to saute the garlic with the onions and the mushrooms. I don't like doing that, mainly because it burns. And I don't want the burn taste. So now I've got some good garlic in there, but I'm also going to add some granulated or minced garlic. These will rehydrate inside there, and it will turn into a really nice flavor. Then to boost the flavor of the onion, some granulated onion. And I can't find my bay leaves. Where in the heck are my bay leaves at? If anybody sees them, let me know. I need to put a couple bay leaves in here. Let's see how the noodles are doing. Oh, they look like they're just about done. You know the old saying, throw one up against the wall, if it sticks, it's done. And no, that's not true. So, yep, they're done. Take that stick off. Okay, so I'm going to add the beef. Where's the beef? Beef and sausage, I should say. See how nice and thick this sauce is. Now, lasagna sauce you want a little bit thicker than, say, a spaghetti sauce. After all, it has to form up in the pan. Where spaghetti, no, you add it just before you put it on the plate. You know, but you add the sauce just before you put it on a plate, so it doesn't really have to worry about it. But okay, that's good. Now I'm going to go ahead and drain the noodles. Now you can't see over here by the sink, but I've drained the noodles. I'm going to rinse them in cold water to get all the starch off. And also to stop the cooking. There. That's done. Now we are basically waiting on the sauce to complete. So I'm going to put a lid on just to make sure nothing falls into it by mistake. And let me go see if I can find my dang bay leaves. There they are. Somebody put them in the wrong cabinet. So 1, 2, I think I'm going to do 3. So they're not real big. Okay. Now, something some people will try and do is they will go through and add Parmesan cheese to this at this point. You know, I don't really like doing that because it binds it, it tightens it up, and I don't think it needs to be that. Okay, so we're gonna let this simmer for a while. Do a quick taste. Okay, getting there. Okay, so when I get ready to put this back together, or start putting it together, I'll bring you back. Okay, hi, welcome back. Time to start putting this together. Now, normally, a lot of times what I'll use would be a 9x11 glass baking pan. The problem we run into that with just the three of us, I make way too much, way too much, and it always gets eaten. After all, it seems like with pretty much any kind of pasta dish, the second day, third day, fourth day, it has a chance to meld more together and actually taste better. So let's go ahead and start putting this together. We're going to start by spraying the pan. So I'm going to use a tinfoil pan so to make it easier to clean up later. I'm going to spray it with Pam, or non-stick cooking spray. Okay. We're going to put a layer of the meat sauce. Ooh, hot. Oh. Okay. Put a layer of the meat sauce on the bottom. This just keeps the noodles, first layer of noodles, from sticking. Okay. Now, layer of noodle. It's had a chance to cool off. It's not stick together because I rinsed it. When it was still hot, I ran it under cold water and took all the starch off of it. Okay. Now we actually get to the layering of the good stuff. Let's do a layer of meat. Now you can see it's not very runny. I did not add any of that extra tomato juice from the canned tomatoes. Okay. Do a layer of ricotta. And again, you can add as much as you want, decrease the cheese if you want to. I'm sure somebody out there has made some type of a vegetarian ricotta. Sorry if it doesn't come from a living, breathing animal. I just can't see it being called cheese. But that's just me. I'm sure somebody out there makes the absolute delicious substitute, but I don't want it. Thank you though. Okay, so thin layer of the Kobe Jack or Cheddar Jack, whichever you want to use. A thin layer of the mozzarella. Another layer of noodles. So I will get 3 layers in this pan. Now is when we pile on the cheese. Okay, thin layer of the Kobe Jack or Cheddar Jack, whichever you prefer. And then a nice thick layer of the mozzarella. Now I'm making this for dinner, okay? And it is currently 12:30 in the afternoon. We don't eat dinner at 12:30 in the afternoon. That's a great thing about lasagna. You can make it ahead of time, and you can make it as much as you want. I have actually made lasagna in the individual loaf pans, the tinfoil pans, like you would find banana bread and stuff like that. I have made lasagna in those so that you can take one out, take it out of the tinfoil, and reheat it in the microwave, leave it in the tinfoil, reheat it in the oven, because everything's cooked. There's nothing raw in here. The cheese, you just want it to melt. So you just really want to make this heat through. So that one is done. I do not have enough to do another pan. So basically, I'm going to get 6 pieces out of this for 3 people. It's going to be delicious. So let me go ahead and wrap this up with some tin foil. Okay, so let's think about this for a moment. I have made one family-sized lasagna. It cost me, let's see, $6 for the meat, because I found it on special at my local grocery store. It cost me $1.50 for noodles, because it was 2 boxes for $3. it cost me, let's see, the tomatoes were they were 3 for $1. Or I'm sorry, 3 for $4. So that's another $4. Cheese was the most expensive thing in this. The mushrooms, onions, we're talking another $4. So, you know, what is that? Less than 20 bucks? 20 bucks, something like that, to make this from scratch. And it took me, of actual working time, less than an hour. Or you can go out and you can buy a frozen lasagna, and you pay $10 for it. It takes you 2 hours to cook it. It's got preservatives and way too much salt. It's not as thick as this. I mean, this is a heavy dish, and it's better because you made it yourself and it tastes better. So I'm just saying, it's not that difficult to make. If they came with smaller boxes of lasagna noodles, because I only used half of what was in that box, if that. I guess I probably could have taken half the noodles out, put them in a plastic bag and saved them. Not have to worry about that. But you know what? It's fine. It's great. So what am I going to do with all this leftover? Let's go ahead and I'm going to put this in the refrigerator so that it doesn't go funky on me. And then when it gets time to eat, I'll take it out of the oven, or put it in the oven, 350 degrees for half hour, maybe 45 minutes, and it'll be ready to eat. Served with some garlic bread. Okay, so here we are. Lasagna is finished. I checked the temperature, it's at 135, and everything looks good. After you take it out of the oven, you want to let it set for about 10 minutes so that everything will firm up and become easier to handle. So let's go ahead and cut into this thing. Now, I guess we could have let the cheese melt a little bit more on it. Excuse me. But I didn't want to wait no longer. I'm hungry. Grab a plate. Take a scoop. Okay. Something didn't cut through. You gotta be real careful when you're using the darn tin foil pans so you don't cut through the pan. Okay, it held together pretty good. Get that little extra there. Goes with that dish. Couple pieces of French bread. And we're ready to serve. Thank you very much for watching this video. If you have any comments, go ahead and leave them down the bottom. Have a great night.